the nature of the ultimate revolution with which we are now faced is precisely this, that we are in process of developing a whole series of techniques which will enable the controlling oligarchy, who have always existed and presumably always will exist, to get people actually to love their servitude.
The American experiment is a particularly noxious piece of sophistry often touted by globalists. According to a recent column by the New York Times' David Brooks, importing people from around the world is an endeavor to which as Americans we devoted our lives. In fact, this devotion holds the nation together, even through the current dark Trumpian age. Brooks is outspoken in his desire that a contemptible dying white America give way to a thriving brown superpower, a destiny he attempts to confuse his audience into believing that it was always intended to fulfill. It's hard to dispute that our lives have been devoted to a globalist experiment. However, did we ever provide our consent? Never, since people are reticent to wager the survival of themselves and everything they hold dear on the outcome of an experiment. Wherever possible, civilizations follow precedent to ensure their survival. Since it worked in the past, it should work now has always been a better maxim than this country could destroy us, but let's give it a shot. In the past, America was no exception to common sense. The modern historical narrative erroneously portrays the founders as embarking on a grand experiment which continues to this day. In reality, the founders assiduously regarded historical precedents. They used their insights into the lessons of history to craft a framework with the best chance of functionality. This wasn't an experiment to them, so they never described it as such. It was their explicit intention to bequeath a bright future in the New World to their European people. The US Constitution was not written as a blueprint for national suicide via mass Third World influx. Experiments most often have negative outcomes. Thus, if people are involved, ethics require informed consent about the risks of what is going on. Unfortunately, since the Hart-Celler Act was passed in 1965, the fate of America in its current form has been bound to the outcome of a failed experiment that is coming now to its close. And it's the job of sophists like Brooks to convince naive consumers of the mainstream media not to worry because everything is proceeding according to plan. Although his surname might obscure his ethnic background, Brooks's agenda points to his true identity, and while he marks himself as a moderate conservative, he is of the tribe. This particular kind of globalist is a far different breed from sheep globalists like George W. Bush. While the latter often lack critical thinking skills, they still have skin in the game. In the long term, they stand to lose just as much as anyone else. Therefore, they must be financially incentivized or led astray intellectually through sophistry in order to support the displacement of their own kind. The primary defining feature of Semitic globalists is that they tout this philosophy to everyone else, while maintaining a deep socio-political loyalty to their own ethnicity. In the case of David Brooks, his son served in the Israeli Defense Forces because it was the right thing to do. So, Brooks maintains that Americans have dedicated their lives to a globalist experiment, but he's proud that his son joined the IDF to risk his life in the service of an ethno-state. This then brings us to another signature characteristic of these globalists. They seem totally unaware of their galling hypocrisy. And sadly, it is this demographic which wields virtually unchallenged power over our political, financial, and media institutions. It is the task of the new right to bring attention to these insufferable people and their destructive contradictions because no one else will. The continued advancement of their agenda will be to everyone's fatal detriment. America's founding stock are simply the first to be lined up before the firing squad.